as a middle schooler, has also now become an All-American as a freshman in Virginia Beach. So he's really done great things, and he's going to continue to do great things. And Jake also earns his varsity letter as well. The next one is Alexandra Martinez. With our fall training and things, I keep kind of asking the guys, hey, who's coming out, who's training, who's doing whatever, and normally the same names are kind of popping up, and then they said, Coach, some girls coming to work out, or some girls walking around school with a wrestling backpack on. I'm like, okay, we've had other females wrestle before and things like that, and they sit there and say, well, I said, who is she? I don't know, but she just wears this backpack and it's got a bunch of pins on it and all this stuff. And I was like, well, do you think she knows what she's got on her back? Like, does she understand she's wearing a wrestling back? Oh yeah, she says she knows she's coming out and wrestling and everything else. I said, great. And well, kind of dug into it a little more, and I found out who she was, and her brothers wrestled at Hillcrest, and so I was like, okay, I now know that she is going to wrestle and knows how to wrestle, things like that, and has been through their program. And I just kind of wanted to see if she'd stick to that. Didn't treat her any different. She persevered just like all the other guys did. Worked her tail off just like all the other guys did. I didn't let her get out of one sprint or one push-up or one pull-up, anything. And she did it all. She also was third at the girls' state tournament this year. Wrestled girls that were bigger than her, and she just did a great job. Actually went and wrestled in Oklahoma on the national level as well. So she really, really loves the sport. Loves to continue the sport as well, and she also earns her varsity letter as well. Next young man is Corey Peterson. Corey was a young man, and again, sometimes it takes a brother to get a guy started in wrestling. And we were giving up a weight class, or we had to push Cooper or Alexandra up a weight class, and they were really just tired of wrestling up a weight class. But Casey came to me and goes, Coach, I think I can get my brother to wrestle. I said, what does he weigh? He said, like 115. I said, yes, get him out here right now. And he went home and kept working on him and talking to him and things like that. And he came out, and I was like, great. And we saw how physical he was, and that guy wasn't afraid to just get out there and do whatever he knew to do before he got coached up, and really looked pretty natural at it. So I was pretty excited. I guess Casey, you beat him up at home. I don't know what you do, but you did a good job, whatever it was. And came out, and his dad told me, he said, hey, if you get his motor turned on, he'll go after it. And I was like, great, where's the switch? Because we're going to turn that thing on. We need to get going. Well, against a kid from Pickens, he got the motor turned on. And Casey's at the edge of the mat screaming, everything else. And we kind of looked at each other like, I don't know if he's got this one or not. And sure enough, he went out there, took that kid took him down, I think, first. Corey got up, took the kid down, stuck him, and we were just elated because all that hard work that he had put in finally came around. And I looked at him when he came off the mat. I said, it felt good, didn't it? He said, yeah, Coach, it feels real good. I said, great. Once we get the ball rolling, that's where he's really going to pick up. So I really appreciate him coming out, helping us, filling a spot for us. But I want to reward him with his varsity letter as well. The next young man is Garrett Starks. Garrett Jared's returning state qualifier for us. A guy on a mission. He made the state tournament as a freshman. And always had his mind set on, I'm doing more next time. I'm getting on the podium next time. I'm pushing myself further next time. Really has devoted himself, not that he wasn't before, but just continued to devote himself to wrestling in the off season, training, lifting, all those kinds of things. Was voted as a captain by his peers for the team, and made it back to the state tournament. Was a guy who we went to tournaments. He was always a guy seated pretty high and also wrestled above his seed most of the time. And he got some attention when we were wrestling up at Mallard Creek and wrestled a very close match against a kid that he's known and wrestled before, and hit a move that very few kids even get a chance to attempt. And in his book, when he tells the story, he hit the move. To the referee, he must not have completed the move enough to score the points. But in my book, he hit the move and he scored points. But I guess if you ask Shelly, she'll say he hit it too. But Garrett's done a great job, been a great leader, and has worked tirelessly to help this program to get through and to continue to get better. And the good news is he's only a sophomore, so we get to keep him for a little bit longer. So Garrett starts. Next young man is Jonathan Shaw. Jonathan was another young man who was kind of in that. We have a lot of guys at 132 to 145, which that's only 3 weight classes, and we probably had 7, 8 guys at that weight. But Jonathan has a motor like no other. Great young man, loves to smile, loves to have a good time. But I don't know if I can hit him tight. This is what he does. He just works. And what I love the most about him is that he loves to be challenged. He wants to turn up right when he gets challenged. So, he was another one. If we had Garrett at 138, or I had to sit there and say, we're going to weigh both you guys in here, we're going to bump one up here, that kind of thing. And, I totally trusted that he was going to be able to hold his own no matter where I put him. If it was at 138, 45, 52, didn't matter. And he was always ready to go. He never once said, Coach, I don't want to go against that guy. Never. He always took the challenge head on, and I never had to question his effort, ever. I may not in the record book went down for him, but I always told him, you can't go out there and win the match. Make sure he understands that that other young man was in a match as well, and he always did just that. I really appreciate him and what he does. He also earns his varsity letter as well, and I'm just really, really proud of what he's doing. Thank you. Next young man is Thomas Shaw. If I didn't say anything about Thomas, he'd probably be okay with it. Because he doesn't hardly talk all by himself. Sometimes you got to squeeze him to get him to make a noise, which we do a lot of. But Thomas was a leader, a captain on our team as well. Did an amazing job, and he's one of those guys that he doesn't have to be rah-rah and loud and yell and scream to get you to go. He just does it right and expects you to follow. And that's exactly who he is. And I'm just excited to be able to coach him. He may see it as a downside, but to be honest, he was as close as you can make it to the state tournament without making it. And he's put in a bunch of work, and the thing he told me was, Coach, I deserve to go. I agreed with him. You do. But life isn't that way. And that's what sometimes we have to tell him. Sometimes you don't get necessarily what you deserve, but sometimes you have to continue to push through, handle that adversity, and then look back and say, you know what? The fact that I didn't qualify made me want it more next time. And that's what I told him. I held him in close and said, I'll guarantee you this won't have to be a problem next year. Because I know how much work he's going to put in, and I know how much we're going to push him to get to that level. Because I know that's exactly where he wants to be. He handled it probably better than a lot of us would, to be that close and have that goal just right there in front of you, and come up just a touch short. But I guarantee you, he's figured out next year it's going to be different. And I'm just so happy to be able to coach him and the quality of young man that he is. I can't say enough about him, and he won't say anything about himself. So I just really appreciate his time. The next young man is Matthew Pennington. Matt's a returner. Did a great job, and we were really looking forward to having him. Now, I'd say this not to get on Matt at all, but the reason we say you've got to make sure you take care of the business in the classroom is to where you can put forth a full season. Matt fell that short of being fully eligible all season, and I know the quality of young man he is, it's not going to happen again. But he came in, worked really hard, stepped up to a weight class where, again, we didn't have a person there. We were having to bump a young man up. It made it difficult, but we worked the situation out. Matt came in practice even when he wasn't able to get on the mat and compete. And that says a lot about him as a young man, to come in every day knowing that all you can do is practice. So when we go out for matches or we go out to wrestle other teams, things like that he knew he wasn't going to be able to compete. But he kept coming to practice and kept putting forth the effort. And I really respect that, because other guys wouldn't do it. So I look forward to hopefully next year getting a full season in with him and really getting him on the road to where I think he wants to be as well. Because we were talking as coaches looking up and looking in. He was a guy that we said, it's an outside shot, but he had a shot to make it to the state tournament. So I know what he can do. He knows what he can do. We just got to put it together and put it on the mat. So I just really enjoy coaching him, and I just look forward to what he's going to do next year. Thank you, man. Next young man is William Baird. Woo! I really enjoy coaching with him. He makes practice fun by just being himself. Because he's always got something fun to say, or a little joke, or quick wit. Because sometimes practice gets long and it gets really tiring, and you're tired of wrestling the same guy, and that kind of thing. And one thing Will comes up to me and says, a lot of times when the room gets real hot, is, "Man, Coach, it's sweaty in here." Well, that's because it's his fault. He's one of the sweatiest young men I've ever met in my life. Surprised you're not sweating around this. Oh, great. But Will's one of those guys as well. It seems like we breed a certain type of young man where they're all in the same weight class or area. So it was him and Cody and Cam, all about the same area. And Will was one of those guys where we said, 2 spots for 3 guys, and they wrestled all for it, and they had some heck of matches. And you know, Will, you know, really did a good job. You know, pushing through. You know, he may not be the strongest guy, but he has, you know, probably one of the better techniques of our bigger guys. So we knew that, you know, hey, he's going to be in the lineup somewhere. It just depends on which one. He's going to be at 220. He's going to be at heavyweight. And I'm just so thankful that he, you know, it came to the fact that if I asked him to go to 220, all right, it was heavyweight. It didn't matter how big the kid was. He'd tell me how hairy he was later or something. But he'd go out there and do it. It didn't matter. And I love kids like that because that makes coaching real easy. He never questioned, never said one cross word about it. Even when we went to the real tough tournaments, you know, he even would open up and say, "Coach, I'll go heavyweight to where somebody else can go 220." You know, he's that kind of character kid, and I just really, really enjoy coaching him. So, William Baker. Next man is Zach Ball. Zach's one of these young men who, you know, also makes coaching easy because, you know, it didn't matter if I was getting on him or telling him he did a great job or trying to put him back together after his feet touched the back of his head. It was always, "Yes, coach. Yes, sir. No problem." You know, and you know he's a very high quality, high character young man, and you know he was also one of those guys where we had to sometimes bump him up, and again, never questioned, never, you know, had an issue with it, but always wanted to do whatever it took for the team. I mean, you know, he was a kid weighing in, you know, 148 and asking, you know, "Coach, I know we have a need at 170. Can I go up and wrestle 170?" And I'd tell him what it took. And he's like, "Yeah, I'll do it if you want me to, but, you know, do this." And I was like, "Well, let's just see how this works out. Let's weigh you in here, let you wrestle another weight class." But he was ready to do whatever it took. You know, and I just absolutely love coaching young men like that who are really have that mindset of team before self. Even in a sport where it could be a real selfish sport, he was that guy who was ready to put the team, whatever's good for the team, I'm game. And you know, I just absolutely love coaching guys like that. And so I just really enjoy coaching with that. Thank you. Next young man is Casey Peterson. Casey's a returner for us. A guy didn't necessarily know if he was going to come back or not, but he came back, and I asked him, I said, if you're going to come back, I need you to dedicate your full heart to the program. And he looked me dead in the eye and said, "Coach, I'm doing that. I'll absolutely." And came back and was an integral part of our team. He was one of those guys where we look and say, "All right, where are the ones that we know we can win?" And Casey was one of those ones that we can count on. And it's funny when I had to look at Casey, because you know, Casey has that motor. When you get that switch turned on, he's ready to do whatever it takes. Sometimes just barely outside the rules to get it done. But you know, that aggression in wrestling is just, you know, it's part of it. But he did a heck of a job taking that aggression and channeling it to wrestling. Because some guys that he wanted to go with, they wanted to make it something about other than wrestling. And I would remind him, "Casey, wrestle, just wrestle." And he would look at me, shake his head, and I was just like, "Dear God, please let him just keep wrestling." Because he's a heck of a wrestler. But I know that if he wants to, he can flip that switch and it can be something and throw a kid through a table or whatever. That's why they don't put him so close. But you know, Casey did a heck of a job. He held his temper even when other guys didn't, and he out wrestled guys, and you know, really did a heck of a job. You know, being mature and handling that adversity, but doing what it took to win the match. I'm really going to miss him. He's graduating out of our program. I really like to appreciate him for the years he's put in. And I know he had a great senior night, and I hope that he enjoys the program as much as I enjoyed coaching him, because he's a wonderful young man. I'd like to see what he's going to do in the future. So, thank you. The next young man is Chandler Majid. Chandler kind of came to us. He wrestled before, always battling for a spot. But Chandler came to us with his post-high school stuff already kind of taken care of. Going into the military, and he just told me, Coach, I want to wrestle because I want to be with the guys. I want to help out anywhere I can. And he already had weekend commitments that he had to do with the military because he was already kind of early enlisted, that kind of thing. But he was there for anything that came with the team. He was there. He sacrificed the chance to kind of have some individual glory to go do his training, but he was always there when the team was wrestling. So I can really respect the fact that he really did put the team before himself. He didn't necessarily, if you got individual glory, wonderful. But if he could help the team, he was there. He sustained an injury that in my heart, I thought it may have affected his post-high school plans. Thank the Lord it didn't. But he was still, Coach, if you need me to just weigh in and see if they got a guy. If they don't have a guy, I'll walk out there and I'll get my hand raised. He was still that guy, even when he thought his wrestling career ended. Thank goodness it didn't. He continued to wrestle and work through everything, even when he got the worst case of whatever it was that I've ever seen in my life. But still kind of kept his spirit up. Still came in and said hey to us. All that kind of stuff. I'm really going to miss this young man. I think the U.S. military has got a quality guy on his hands. So I just really appreciate you, Tim. The next young man is Corey Mabry. Corey's a guy that they don't come along often. A guy who was a star football player, and can't quit talking about wrestling. We go to church together. We went on a mission trip together, and it was all wrestling. It was all about wrestling and talk about what he wants to do after the season's over. And he really has a heart for wrestling. I don't know if it's because of what the sport gave to him or he just fell in love with it. But he made a decision to kind of forego his football career his senior year to focus on wrestling. Corey took the reins and kind of led, even sometimes when he wasn't supposed to, but led the fall workouts for the guys. And he'd come report back, Coach, we had these guys show up, I did this, all that kind of stuff. So he kind of became my wrestler / assistant coach kind of guy. Also one of those guys that I could sit there and know if we wrestle him versus whoever they got, we got a really good chance. And obviously makes wrestling practice fun. And he just continues to work. He was a leader, a captain on our team, and he was the one that everybody kind of rallied around. He'd get them up, get them going. If I said, all right, y'all need to take care of this, he'd make sure it got taken care of. my heart broke and when his senior season kind of got cut short. Wrestling a kid that I know he could beat, and we knew we were going to get him to the state tournament. But I told him that night, God has another plan for you. This is just part of it. And he got cut short by a concussion, but he still wanted to be there, still wanted to support. Came back the next day just to rally the guys and keep them going. And now he's my youth program assistant coach. And I think that's really something he loves and wants to do. I keep telling him he needs to go to school and take care of that first and then come back. But we'll see how that goes, I guess. But Corey's an awesome young man. I don't know if I'll be able to replace him ever because he's one of a kind for sure. But I really enjoyed coaching him. And the last young man is Jesse Roy. Jesse's a guy who, again, I have a long history with. From his mama calling me and asking, hey, can he wrestle? Can he still wrestle? As an underclassman, as a freshman, and me saying, well, what does he weigh? And then he fit in the weight class that we needed, and I said yes. To become a state qualifier, and a guy that we can put in the lineup and say, yep, he's going to win whatever match he's at. He's got it. Always a guy who's a student of the sport, going to camp, learning things, putting forth his best effort at things, and he would do just as much scouting as Coach Mann on his competition. He'd know probably their sister's maiden name if they're married by the time they got done wrestling. If not, right after he'd go find it out, because he'd go and hang out and talk and. His sportsmanship was amazing because he'd go beat on a guy for 6 minutes and want to go hang out and be friends with him after that. So we kind of joked with him about it, but he really does love the sport, and I think the sport's been really good to him. He's been really good to the sport as well. Jesse's got a big future ahead of him. I hate that we're gonna lose him. Because me and him have such a long standing relationship, from those rides home to me picking him up early and getting him there to where Angie can make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for tournaments. But I love this young man. He does a lot of great things for us. Like same thing I told Corey, go to school, get your education, get that taken care of, then you can come back and help us out, all that kind of stuff. Because as soon as everything was over, he's like, Coach, can I come back and help next year? I'm like, Jesse, you need to go take care of some stuff first, and then you can come back. But for all the seniors, they know that the room's open. If they're in town over break or whenever, and they want to come back and roll around a little bit and beat up on some kids, they can feel free. So they know that for sure. But I really, really enjoyed coaching Jesse Moore. Pushing him, sometimes it was a struggle. But I just absolutely love working with this young man. Thank you. All right. All right. Now the varsity awards, and these were done statistically with Coach Mann. The first one is Rookie of the Year. Again, this is a guy who is new to this aspect of our team, moving up from the middle school level to the varsity level, and now with varsity. On the varsity level, again, we didn't know exactly how it was going to pan out for this young man, but he did a heck of a job on his first year of varsity. and I'm just excited that he's coming back for many more years. So that's Jake for Nicole. Jake was theater too, don't know that? And cheerleading. The next award is an award that I couldn't help. You know, once we had the list of awards and, or how many we could do, it was a non-negotiable that I had to have this award for our team. And it's the Coach's Award, and it goes to the kid who was selfless when it came to what weight class they were wrestling, you know, how much they put themselves out there just to work as hard as they can, and it didn't matter what we asked him to do, he was going to do it, and he did a heck of a job doing it. And that was Charlie Rogers. The next award is our most improved wrestler from the varsity level. And this came from a young man where, again, we didn't know if he had a spot on the varsity level or not, if he was going to be JV. And you're just going to have to sit a year on the JV level. But came out, kept working hard, and really turned it on. And I could have had, we actually, this may be the most debated award we had, because we had so many young men improve over the season. But this young man went from being a JV guy wrestling JV tournaments, not even traveling with the varsity team, to a region champ. So I couldn't help but to give it to him. That's Hunter Allison. Our most outstanding wrestler, this goes to a young man that, he wants it. I mean, he just goes out and sometimes even shakes his head about how well he did. Sometimes, or something, I don't know why he doesn't, but he doesn't. But a heck of a wrestler, our only state qualifier this year, but a guy that we can definitely depend on in the lineup, and that was Garrett Starks. Our all-region wrestlers, and we have plaques for them, but our 3 region champs for the second time, so 2-time all-region, Jesse Royal. First time as a freshman, Hunter Allison.